Educating Geeks, the podcast where friends help friends discover new passions. Today in the studio we have
Megan,
Sara,
Cassie,
and I'm Alice. Today we're continuing Cassie's education on Battlestar Galactica, and we are going to discuss, in my humble opinion, the glorious Season 2.
What? So good.
So my first question for you, Cassie, as the new player to the game, how excited were you when we picked this podcast to re-engage with these characters and these stories? Were you excited about it? Were you like, oh,
were you very excited or the most excited?
I was fairly excited. Okay. Fairly excited. I was intrigued. You know, it's their strength is storytelling, at least from what I could tell with season 1. So, I expected that. I expected the strong storytelling in season 2.
How about the rest of you for your rewatches?
Squee.
Oh, I always want to watch Battlestar Galactica. However, like now that I think this is like the 7th or 8th time I've watched it, and I think I'm starting to burn out.
Whoa.
You don't say.
I know.
My God.
No.
I only watched it for the first time like 3 years ago. So that means I've watched it multiple times a year for the last 3 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot of Battlestar.
Alice seemed genuinely shocked by burning out. Were you
Yes. Well, because I don't have enough distance. For me, watching it is still, oh my God, I love it so much.
No, I'm definitely.
And I could see where you could get.
I'm hitting the wall.
How could you not?
I'm hitting the wall. Well, and that's my thing too. Is I get super obsessed with something, and then it like becomes my thing until I can't anymore.
I mean, I get fatigue, but yeah, I'm surprised being the huge Battlestar lover that you are.
You are a huge fan.
I know,
but I think it's reasonable.
How about you, Sara? Other than Squee, do you have anything more to say?
It's such an engrossing show that I find myself really reluctant to start it again whenever I feel like watching it or when we've been doing it for this. But then once I'm in, I'm so in. But it's such an emotional roller coaster. And like you, Alice, I just get pulled in. I'm on that roller coaster up and down and up and down and up and down. And I love it. But then when I'm done, I'm like, I don't think I could do that again.
Right, you have to go throw up. Because you're going up and down the roller coaster.
Throw up. But it's so good. But I also don't have that distance. I'm pulled in. I'm emotional. I'm on everybody's side. One of the things that I did want to kind of mention was when Admiral Kane was like, I read your logs, Commander Adama. And it was like all of a sudden it turned into the third party that comes in and kind of audits everything. And then all of a sudden the stuff that you had bought into completely and you had the context for and you were on their side because you love those characters, all of a sudden they were like, this is what you did wrong. And then you're like, oh, they did.
Totally agree with you. Totally. For me, this is like one of the best seasons of television for me ever.
I still totally agree with you on that.
And it is like a glorious fucking train wreck. And I cannot tear my eyes away from it. Even though for me, storytelling is all about the mistakes and the problems and the bad choices and the aftermath. And boy, this season just has got that in spades, man.
I like glorious fucking train wreck. I think that's kind of perfect. Yeah. That's kind of perfect.
So that's the name of this episode, Glorious Fucking Train Wreck.
So speaking about train wrecks and bad choices and people pointing out a different point of way. So which characters for everybody sort of went in a direction that you didn't expect them to in this season?
Rosalind.
Adama.
Oh, yeah, Adama.
It's kind
I just want to punch him in the mouth in this season. Pretty much every time he shows up. He is such a giving up whiner.
I can't disagree with you. I don't like him in this season. Again, he's one of those people who, like, for me, it's Adama and Starbuck. I actually like least in this season. And
I totally agree.
Else who I like better.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think for a while watching this season, I was always like, this doesn't seem like Lee Adama. Like, Lee Adama doesn't behave this way. But then this season, I kind of realized, you know what? No, this is Lee Adama. I mean, from the get-go, if you remember in the miniseries, he hadn't talked to the Admiral in like years because they were having a feud and he was being a whiny little bitch. I guess I need to let go of this ideal of Lee Adama that I have in my head because clearly it's like not
You mean
It's
the
not
scene
him.
of him in the locker
Well,
room with
everyone
his
loves
towel
the scene
down?
in the locker room. Who couldn't love
And then
the
there's
scene?
the scene, even though he has the bullet wound still, where he is
Oh,
in
yeah.
the locker room or whatever room
It was
that was
when
with
he and Dee were together.
with D. Yeah. I appreciated and his boxer briefs.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Leah Dama.
It's really not a good season for
He's
him.
just so whiny.
Yeah. So you said Rosalind.
Yeah.
I agree
Is
with
it
that.
is it the end there where she makes that
No
choice?
No.
So what is it?
She showed that she was the person she was at the end. She showed that when she was like, "You have to kill Admiral Kane."
Yeah.
That she had already gone down that road, been on that road for a long time when they did the vote issue. But when she was like, "You have to kill her," like in her funny, like really calm, kind of sweet, soft voice, you have to like shoot that lady.
You have to kill her.
You're right. That was the first indication. And then when she capitulated to the whole abortion,
Oh, that was
Yes.
heartbreaking.
that whole thing,
Yes.
even though you could tell that she didn't want to
Yeah.
Well, I
have
think
that
that's
regulation or that rule.
Sorry. I think that's a great illustration of what you were saying, Sarah, in terms of people showing you something from a different perspective, right? So she was the one who told Adama in season 1, we got to make babies. And now he's the one pointing out to her, if we need to make babies, you can't abort babies because we need those babies, you know. So in your notes that you gave me, you called it duality and parallels. I think that's a good illustration of that as well.
Yeah, I think
What
you're right.
other examples of dualities and parallels do you have for us?
One interesting thing about the characters kind of swapping, I feel like Saltai kind
Yeah.
of became a more reliable person and a more reliable leader. That's one thing that I didn't mention in my notes to you guys, but I feel like he wasn't someone where you're like, oh, he's drunken Ty. But there were moments where he became more even keeled.
I think after the martial law stuff
I was gonna
died
say,
down
yeah.
because
Yeah.
he already kind of knew his shortcomings and his inability to be a leader. I think he already was kind of aware of that, but I think it really hit him square in the face when he had to be in charge of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and even when Admiral Adama, Commander Adama at that
At the
time,
time, yeah.
when he finally was ready to go back into service, Ty was like, I fracked up. Man,
Yeah.
I fracked up big time.
Yeah.
And
awareness.
I think that willingness to admit what he had done and to recognize it was what led Adama to say, okay, we're going to fix this and we're going to fix it together.
Oh, but for me, it's that's when Dee, with a conversation between him, Adama, and Dee, where she basically says, every minute that we're not going after them, you're breaking your promise.
Yeah.
Right? She's the one who schools him, which is one of my
That's
favorite
true.
scenes in the entire series is her, because she's not one of my favorite characters, let
Right.
me tell you. But I love that they give her that moment to be like,
Well, and
dude.
I really like her relationship to the commander. Like, he actually places a lot of value in her opinion, and I think she gives him solid opinions too. Like, there's a couple different scenes where he's talking to somebody and you don't know who it is until like the end of the episode, and you find out he's been talking to Dee the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's not who I thought he'd be talking to about this.
Her non-romantic relationships were definitely
Way more
better.
interesting.
Yeah, more interesting.
Way better.
Back to the duality. So I was looking, and yeah, Sharon and Six's swap, seeing
Yes.
their other versions of themselves, and that was really interesting. And I really liked seeing Six get mind fucked by Gaius.
I love that.
hallucination of Gaius.
I
switch.
love that.
It was
The
like
head
after all
Gaius
this
is
time.
brilliant.
After all this time of seeing her mess with Gaius, now she's being messed with.
I'm pretty sure I squeed my first time around. I was like, oh my God, that is perfect.
Yes. She reaches for the drink while she's trying to connect with the other version of
With
Sharon.
Boomer. Yeah.
And then she like catches herself at the last minute, like, shit, he's not there.
I love the difference between how she handles that and how Gaius handles it, because Gaius is like this master multitasker. So I don't know how he does it every time, but he manages to make whatever he's saying to head six work.
Yeah.
In the situation. And Caprica 6 does not have that ability. So she just
No.
pretends like he's not there.
Yeah, that's true. So that was interesting. And I don't know where I might have lost the thread. I was a little disappointed, and of course this will lead into season 3. I was a little disappointed to see that whatever influence those other versions had for the better somehow got twisted, unless those are different versions of them, which I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, the ones on Caprica are Caprica 6, who was the one with Gaius that got the codes, and then Boomer, right?
No, I meant at the end.
And then they are the 2 that are leading the charge on New Caprica.
Yeah, so I thought they were the ones who convinced them to peace out. And it looks like they're the ones who...
They were the ones that were encouraging the Cylons to settle on New Caprica.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because there are 3 6s in play by this time.
By this point.
You've got original. Mm-hmm. Then you've got...
So original is Caprica 6.
Yeah, original's Caprica 6. And then you have...
Head 6.
And then the one from Pegasus.
Yes.
Pegasus.
And I
Pegasus
can't remember
6.
what her official name is.
Gina.
But Gina? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, so we're not including his hallucination of...
That's Head 6.
That's Head 6.
But the one who staged the essentially a mutiny is not Head 6. She was the reborn 6, right?
No.
The one who with Sharon is like...
That's Caprica 6.
That's Caprica 6. That's the original 6.
Yeah. So she was that one reincarnated.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fucking confusing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is, right?
So, as much as Leodama sucked in this series, I think Hilo gets quite the other end of that. And
Hilo rocks.
he rocks in this season, and he makes, conversely, he makes such heroic and awesome, decisions to support his Sharon and
Hilo
the
can
whole
do no
9
wrong
yards.
in my book, so...
Exactly. Well, and then the whole teaming up with Chief thing, how they
Yes,
were
to
like
go,
kind of at odds, and then they've found themselves on the same page, and then they both rushed to Sharon's defense. I almost cried at that. I thought that was really beautiful of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my second favorite moments is the conversation that Adama, that moment that he has with Tyrell when he asks him, "Did you love Sharon Valeri?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Well, I thought I did." And he's like, "No. Did you love her?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yes." And he was like, "Well, then you loved her. It's not like something you can fake. It's not, if it happened, then you loved her." And I really love that moment.
I love the trouble that they get into together. Yeah. Actually, I hate the trouble that they get into together, but it was well played.
I love that they got into trouble together.
Yeah.
That was an oh my god moment.
Yeah, it was. That got real dark.
Yeah.
That
Yes,
whole
it did.
section
That
of
whole-
story.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real dark, real fast.
Yeah, real fast.
Yes. So I've shared 2 of my favorite moments from the series. What do you guys have as some of your favorite moments?
Well, my very favorite moment was when Starbuck kind of reappeared in the Blackbird while the Pegasus and BSG were fighting each
Oh, yeah.
other.
That was a good moment,
And
yeah.
she's like, "Don't shoot! I'm a friendly. We're all friendly.
We're all friendly.
So let's just be friendly."
But before that, she's like, what the hell?
I know, right? I actually love that because of the way that they shot that. The way that all of the Vipers are just kind of flipping around each other. They're just like going in for the kill and then flipping on and pulling crazy maneuvers to avoid one another. It was pretty comical looking. They did a really good job of making that look utterly ridiculous because what was going on was utterly ridiculous.
Yeah. Like, we don't really want to get each other, but...
I know, right? I feel bad for all of the pilots. They're just like, what the fuck do I do, man?
Yeah.
Now, you had wanted to talk about Final Cut. So are there scenes from Final Cut that's some of
I
your
think
favorite
Final
moments, or is it
Cut-
just as an episode, it's one of
I
your
think
favorites?
as a whole episode, it's just really well done.
So that's the episode where...
So Final Cut is the first time we see Deanna Beers. So it's the episode where Deanna Beers, played by the impeccable Lucy Lawless, she comes on board the Galactica as a member of the press, and she's creating a documentary film about the members of the Colonial Fleet. So this whole episode is done kind of from her point of view, and a lot through the point of view of her cameraman, because we see so much of the footage that they shot, and that's pretty much the episode. And I just really love it because you get to see all of the characters in a way that you don't ever get to see on a normal episode, because we're always focused on the drama, like what's going on right now, like, oh, Hilo and the Chief just got thrown into the brig, let's follow that drama. But this shows us like that their humanity and their their people and like their everyday routine, like screwing around in the
Locker room.
in the locker room. Yeah,
It's not really a lot. It's like their bunk.
I forget what they call it. In the racks.
In the
Yeah,
rack.
in the
The
racks.
rack room. Yeah.
so when they're screwing around in the rack, and I mean, like that's what normal people are like. You know, they're running around and they're running around naked and joking around with each other. I just like seeing that stuff, and it's a moment for the actors to just kind of relax and be in the characters. And plus, you get to see Leah Dama drop a towel.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the
first saw it-
seasons I cried at the end of that episode.
Yeah, that one's really powerful too.
When I first saw it, I was like,
And I just got the eye. From
I was
Cassandra.
confusing and trying to think because I was going to say like the reveal at the end redeemed that episode for me because that stunt as an episode has been done.
It
to
has
death
been.
on other shows.
Yeah.
To Battlestar Galactica's defense, this was in 2006, 2005. So since then, like 9 other shows have done it. So they weren't like among the
Followers,
copycats,
right,
but
yeah.
it's been done to death. So at first I was like, fuck. I don't need to see this other side because I believe in these flawed characters to some degree, and I agree that in the moment, like, it was basically done for the civilians' benefit.
Right.
But the reveal of who Lucy Lawless's character really was
Yeah.
really good.
Did you see that coming?
Only because of my
Because
exposure.
you're the spoiler
exposure,
queen.
yeah.
Yeah, because my prior exposure. But like, had I been watching it live like you guys did, I would have been like, what? So I liked the execution of that. Even knowing eventually that was going to be revealed, I liked how that was executed. Yeah, what happened at the end that made you cry? What else would have happened?
Well, at the very end where she actually shows it. And at first they do that, and again, it's a ploy, right? So they do that thing where they end it, and Ty is like, oh, well, that was a hatchet job. And Adama's like, oh, well, no, I think it was really whatever. Go ahead and play the end of it. And then at the end, it turns really poignant.
Right.
Right.
And that's what got me. It was that poignancy.
I see.
I think
at the
I think
end.
it does just make me tear up. You know, being from inside the military,
Right.
like that is a point of view of the military that people don't see very often. And so whenever I see it on camera, it makes me really misty.
I wasn't someone in real life or watching this who was like, they need more checks from the civilians. They need more balances, which in the case of the story, that was a question of, how much support should the military have?
I liked the end of Final Cut when it was revealed that Deanna was a Cylon because I'm majorly in love with Lucy Lawless, and I was excited that she was going to have a more solid foundation in the show.
I was so excited, like, yes, we're going to get more Xena.
But then we didn't that much. We only got her a couple times after that, right?
We
There's a
will.
whole two.
Oh, but we will.
Yeah,
There's
we will.
2 more seasons to go, baby.
Because, we see 3 on Caprica a little bit
Yeah.
with Caprica 6 and Boomer. But yeah, she definitely,
She has
we
a
will
role.
get more.
Yes.
Yeah.
She has a role to play.
And that again, because of my exposure to Battlestar when it was on during Stargate, that's why I was surprised. I was like, I thought she played more of a role, but now I guess it's in season
coming.
3. It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. Yeah.
It's always coming. Whatever.
So I'm curious to know, because for me, because I watched it, by season 2, I was watching it, week to week. And I kind of, because again, this was like the glorious fucking train wreck for me, I kind of didn't care. Like, I knew there were going to be more Cylon reveals, but I was so on the roller coaster ride that I was like, who the other Cylons? I wasn't guessing. I wasn't thinking about it.
I wasn't
at
either.
all.
Like I was telling you before, I know of one, or I think I know of one. I'm starting to second guess if I really do know that one. That was shocking in the
Who's your
moment.
prediction?
Who's my prediction?
say because I'm
No, I want to.
No, that's the thing. That's why I haven't said it. I've been very careful not to say it because I don't want. It's almost
You
like
have to just
an
text it to
assumption.
me at one point, just like randomly someday, just be like
Is it
XYZ
so-and-so?
character,
Yeah.
bam, and then I won't respond.
Just text
I just
me
wanna
too, so
know.
I can say okay because I'm curious too, but I know.
But I don't want our facial expressions to give it away.
to me, to the masses.
to me personally. You did this just to piss me
Yeah,
off.
there's one where I just but Alice, you said that there's more than one that's shocking.
I
There's
think
a couple.
I think there are maybe up to 3 that I think people would be
I think
surprised
so.
at, and then there are ones that you probably could care less about.
Yeah,
And
I'd
they are
agree.
all among this cast that we have before us.
Currently, yes.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, everybody is.
Everyone's
Is
here.
now,
Everybody.
yeah.
Well, my
Yeah.
interest is peaked. Because I really thought it was just going to be one more shocker. But it sounds like there are a few.
I think it could be.
So while we're on the topic of characters, there are two things that you ladies want to talk about that I really think are fun. One is that the supporting characters, right, because it's such a huge, right there, we have our core ensemble cast, but there are a lot of, there's like a second tier to that cast as well. And those players get a little bit more airtime in this season.
Yeah, they certainly do.
Right? So I'd like to talk about that. And then the other one I'd like to talk about is yours, Cassie, where you put it as relationships. You say love the one you're with. So it's like favorite pairings, not favorite pairings that you wish would happen that haven't happened.
Who do you ship?
So let's talk about the
ship?
second tier supporting characters first. The secondary pilots get some of their own airtime.
Kat certainly gets a lot of airtime in season 2. She gets a lot of it. And she's a character that I'm kind of hot and cold on, I think.
Me too.
Yeah.
This watch through, I started to see the patterns with her character. So her character is always the one that's having some kind of huge issue while she's out piloting. So she can't stick her landing. She gets stuck on stems. Yeah. She's the one that's in the battle with Scar.
Yeah. In the battle with Starbuck.
Yeah, so she becomes a really good pilot, and she's already a really good pilot by season 2. But she's really like trial by fire. Like she's gonna have to learn every single lesson the hardest way possible. And I have a lot of admiration for that, but then she pisses me off a lot too. So
Sure. Well, I feel the same way about Starbuck. I have a lot of admiration for her, and then sometimes I'm just like, ugh.
They're like foils for each other, or mirrors maybe.
Yeah, they're very
Mirrors,
similar.
I think, is better.
Callie utters my favorite awkward frack usage. You mother fracker!
I did laugh at that one.
And then Tyrrell's just like, mother fracker.
Exactly.
I'm like, you just said what we were all thinking, sir.
Exactly. No, that was hilarious.
Black Market is one of my least favorite
I hate that episode.
Wikipedia says that like is everybody's
I hate
least
that
favorite.
episode.
Even Ronald D. Moore hates that episode.
Who wrote that episode?
Mark Verheiden.
It's just a terrible episode. And that's a perfect example of why I'm so angry at Lee Adama constantly, is that episode in particular.
They were shoehorning this whole Adama as a bad guy who tries to save prostitutes with hearts full of gold.
Yeah.
It didn't fly.
No, it doesn't fly at all.
Everything about that episode just didn't quite work for me.
And that he pulls the trigger at the end.
Well, I think it's great that he did it, but it's like the grander story or the grander theme that they were covering, which is that black markets have to, or in the grand scheme of life, black markets will always survive or exist, and they must
serve their purpose.
Yeah, they restore order, whatever that bullcrap. Right. In this case, I was like, why didn't he really shut that down? So, I mean, whatever.
So this is the season where the relationship between Adama and Rosalind blossoms. How do we feel about that pairing?
It makes me cry.
It's the only one that should exist. I said unilaterally.
I know, but bam.
There's like one other relationship that I think is okay. Well, two.
Well, I was gonna say, wouldn't you?
There's
say
one.
Hilo and Sharon.
Hilo and Sharon is like it for me.
Hilo gets beaten up though, like a puppy.
I love him.
He's a great man, and Sharon's not a bad woman. She's in a bad position, but
she's not.
It's toxic.
She's a cylon.
She's a woman. She thinks she's a woman. She wants to be a woman. Well, one of her wanted to be a woman.
Just saying.
Just a reminder. It's a little toxic. I still think they're women and men.
Yeah.
They're wannabes.
So as a fun aside, Raptor pilot, Viper pilot, and what would your call sign be?
Bubbles.
And which would you be?
Yeah, Raptor or Viper.
Or Viper.
I don't know. I thought about that a lot, but neither of those really seem appealing to me. I would probably work in CIC.
You wouldn't have a call sign then.
I don't care. I would have one in my head.
Would you want to be the communications officer?
I've actually had the call sign Bubbles for a very long time.
So my call sign, I would want it to be Artemis, which is the Greek Diana, right?
Right.
Which is the
good one.
The
goddess of wisdom.
the hunt.
Yes.
Wisdom,
Oh,
right?
yes.
Both. She's also the goddess of the hunt, which really is more of a Viper pilot name, call sign, but really I would be a Raptor.
What is the difference between a Raptor and a Viper?
A Raptor is the one that's more of a recon vessel.
That's what
Sharon
pilots.
Valeri does. And then the Viper pilots are the fighter pilots.
Definitely would be a Raptor.
Well, none of us are Viper pilots.
No.
Yeah, I'd be a Raptor pilot for sure. I don't know. I'm a support type person.
Yeah, me too.
And the call sign I've used for many years is Venom.
Nice.
Venom.
Yeah.
Which again sounds like a Viper pilot.
Yeah, it does.
Not a Raptor.
It does.
My call sign, because based on the multiple comments I've gotten about my facial expressions, would be Grimace.
Oh, I love it. That would be perfect.
I will be Grimace.
Grimace. And that actually does
That's
kind
a
of sound
good
like
one.
a Raptor pilot
Yeah.
call sign.
Yeah.
Grimace. All right, Grimace.
Back to what Sarah was talking about, humanity and or the difference with it. Dean Stockwell's character. One of
The
Cavill?
priest.
Yeah.
Cavill, yeah.
So when he first tells Tyrell, because
Such a
of
funny.
when he says that line, like, because you're not a Cylon, I know because of all the Cylons, ha ha ha, and then you're like, oh wait,
Right?
but his counterpart says down the road, he has this great line that I won't do justice. I was going to look for it, but talking about basically what I had considered for the whole time, and I'm sure everyone's thought of, is he actually verbalizes this notion that they hijacked humanity's destiny. They've been trying to be human, even in their condescension of humans and their, and their hatred of humans. They have attempted to be just like the humans. And he pretty much just like laid it all out there. And I liked that. I liked that particular Cylon.
Yeah, well, and
He's
at the
interesting.
end where they meet each other, it's just fucking
That whole
hysterical.
exchange in the prison.
It's
Yeah,
hysterical.
it's
Very
good.
funny.
It's
very,
hysterical.
very good.
So that sort of in the greater motivations of the Cylons, which is something that you talked about in season
Yeah,
one.
they
actually
start-
starts to reveal a little bit more.
Yeah,
I think it really comes to a head in season 3. But
And it evolved.
Yeah, it
yeah,
does. It
true enough.
changes.
And it's
Yeah.
not all coherent, which I think is the other really interesting thing. That
You mean
they
their
don't all
goals?
have the same motivation?
No.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty human too.
In fact,
that doesn't sound
oftentimes-
like a machine at all.
Yeah, and in fact, oftentimes they have conflicting motivations.
Yes.
Which we definitely find out way more about in season 3. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I did want to talk about leadership and kind of
Yes.
one of the things that struck me when you mentioned the love the one you're with was that whole scene where Adama had to pin a new CAG after Lee went off to
To the
hide
Pegasus?
the president.
Oh,
No,
that's
at the
right.
very
That's right.
Beginning.
You're right.
And Ty was like, really, like he called Ty in for a meeting. Who do you think we should promote? And then this dude comes in and he's like, here, I'm pinning you as CAG.
Yeah.
And Ty was like, what the frack? I thought you were asking me my opinion, and that guy is an idiot.
yeah.
And
He
he's
was
like,
right about that.
Yes,
Yeah.
he was.
Well, and
meant
Adama
well.
was like, basically, these are the qualities I value. These are the qualities I'm looking for. And this guy has them, especially because we don't have a lot of choices.
Yeah.
And I kind of realized that not only is it like love the one you're with, but promote the one you're with when the pickings are slim.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Promote the guy that can't even handle a basic refueling maneuver.
And that was a really great turnaround, like part of that whole Adama making that about face regarding his relationship with Rosalind and her presidency was that he was able to realize that was a really bad choice. This guy is, yeah, he's honest and loyal, which I value, but he was like, I promoted this guy as a direct result of how I'm feeling about Lee right now, who is not honest and not loyal, and I need to fix this. And I was thinking about character motivations as far as the leaders were going. And Adama's motivation, especially after that, is keeping the fleet together and protecting the fleet. Whereas and that's kind of Rosalind's motivation as well. Mm-hmm. But she's more nurture, especially with the we need to have babies. She wants to rebuild and nurture and foster civilization. And then, what were you going to say, Alice? You look
because they're at the beginning. No, I think that's a really good point about it. He kind of needs to get the fleet back together because he does have such shit choices because he doesn't really have that many options. And so if he doesn't get everybody back together, he's going to have shitty CAGs and he's not going to have his best Viper pilot. And, who is he going to have to run run civilization, right? He needs Rosalind like he...
Well, and then, and I think they set it up perfectly how they reunite as a fleet and they solidified their partnership. Adama and Rosalind solidified their partnership.
In more ways than one.
And then, and then the Pegasus comes.
Yes.
And you're like, when
That is such a powerful opening.
when she said Galactica, this is Pegasus actual, my heart, even though I knew what was going to happen with the Pegasus, my heart just, every time I hear it,
Every
skips a
time
beat.
I watch that opening, I have so many emotions.
Yeah.
It's such an incredible opening.
And it's just like, oh, they're not alone in the world. This is wonderful. This is beautiful. And I'm so excited. And then
She gets off the ship.
I know.
And then, yeah. And she's like, welcome to the fleet. And I'm like,
I know.
No.
Right? That's
you welcome to the fleet. What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, she outranks him.
Yes, but
Right?
I didn't
She
know
never
that.
had the fleet. She
I didn't-
always had
Dude,
the
I didn't
fleet.
know that when she said that, and I was like listening, and I was like, let me rewind that. Wait,
she
what?
Well, it's great though because they play it so well. They play it Adama the Good Soldier, and he's gonna
Yeah.
play rank,
Yeah.
and they play it that Rosalind is immediately like, "What? Something's
Yeah.
not right."
Getting back to Lee, I can't respect a guy that's just totally willing to give up on life multiple times in the same season. He's just like, yeah, I feel like dying. I don't
agree
buy
with
into
you.
Lee giving up
His
on life.
his whole floating in the
Multiple times. That's
Yeah.
it happened once. I was like, all right, can we be done with this storyline? And then they did it again in the same season. And I'm just like, really? Like, I just don't see him as that kind of person.
Do you think it's the way he's written or the way he's acted?
Maybe both. I don't know.
I think that Jamie Bamber might be too attractive for me to ever believe that he is that like depressed and
That does happen, doesn't
suicidal.
It does,
Yeah,
yeah.
that yes.
But and it's not just like his face is pretty and symmetrical. It's the way he carries himself.
He seems like a very confident person.
he does, and,
Yeah.
and he doesn't really, as the actor, like Jamie Bamber himself, doesn't really own that. Like
he's so pretty.
he's. Oh, I wish you could see
The
what I'm
problem-
doing.
The problem, I think, and this is like not an indictment of any of us for thinking that, but there are plenty of attractive, seemingly
yeah.
confident people who suffer with depression.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's
Absolutely.
kind of and pretty to boot.
Yeah.
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 So-
No,
But,
absolutely.
so it's an interesting, like, is he overcompensating is the character overcompensating when he's depressed?
Right. Wait, doing
Yeah.
the big bravado.
I
thing.
feel like it's just him throwing a tantrum.
I think
Yeah.
I
that's
feel
really
like
what
that's
it
what
is.
it is.
He's
It's
regressed back to when he was a child.
yeah.
and
I'm gonna behave like a 15-year-old because things aren't going my way. You know that I have problems with that. He's an adult.
Well, so for me, it's Starbuck and her crazy. I mean, for the end in the where now she's got Anders, and what are they doing? They're getting they're getting shit faced drunk together. I was like, oh, there's Starbuck making another awesome choice for herself.
when I saw
you know?
those two together just giggling, I was like, that's Ty and his wife.
Oh my gosh, you're totally right. They're a new version of Ellen and Tall.
Yes.
That's
I
perfect.
haven't talked about Ellen.
I love her.
Crazy wackadoo girl.
I love her.
She's very conniving.
If
Yes, she
we're
is.
watching an episode and Ellen shows up, I'm like, yes, drama is gonna happen and it's gonna be entertaining.
I love the influence that she has over
She
Ty.
has so much control over
She
Saul,
is so manipulative, and he lets her manipulate.
and he knows it. He
and
knows
he
it.
knows it.
knows
He
it.
absolutely knows it. And I was thinking about the leader's motivations. And Adama wants to protect the fleet. Rosalind wants to nurture and rebuild civilization. Ty just wants to do what his wife wants him to do.
Pretty much, yeah.
And
He just
yes.
wants to drink.
He wants to be comfortable.
He just wants.
Yeah, he
to
wants to be
drink.
comfortable. Yeah, I'm down with you on that one.
That's probably
for
why
sure.
he's
okay. So we
one of
haven't
my
haven't
favorites.
talked about Commander Kane.
That is
Her
quite a topic.
motivation is kick Cylon ass. And she
Well,
doesn't
her-
care how she does it. She thinks conscience is a weakness when she has that whole
Her razor speech.
her don't flinch speech
Yes.
with
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
Katie.
Well, there's
with,
that, and then she also had those are two separate speeches. But
Yeah.
yes.
Oh
yes.
yeah, no, the don't flinch speech.
Yeah.
She basically points out that she thinks conscience is a weakness,
Yes.
where Rosalind and Adama both think of it as a strength, especially Adama, and he points it out to her when he finds out that she rigged the election and says it would have weighed on your conscience.
But that's
It would
why
have
I
killed you. The
love.
cancer would have gone to your heart.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I love that when they audit him,
Yeah.
that they call out all his shit and be like, okay, did that ends justify your means? Did that end justify? And it's a tool, right? Because they're going to have her come in and be like, she is the queen of yes. The end,
Yeah.
killing all the fracking Cylons, justifies any means that I may take to get us there.
Yeah.
Like she's the queen
And
of
she's
that. You're
just
absolutely right.
ruthless about it.
She is very
The
absolutely
only thing I
ruthless.
like about it is that, or that I appreciate, is that she is a female, and that's generally it. That whole all of those characteristics are generally characteristics that they would give to a male character.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and
but
the
it was
way
very
that they
heavy-handed.
Did you
Yeah,
watch?
she's super cool. She hasn't seen
Perfect.
Razor.
Oh, you haven't
right? So
seen
she doesn't
Razor.
know that whole side plot.
I
yeah.
do recommend watching Razor
Yeah.
because it's
Ra-
the
it's
story
and
of
it's
the Pegasus.
And it has Kane in it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's entirely Kane. It's entirely the Pegasus crew. So it's
But it intermixes. So it
Yeah, a
happens
little bit.
about Pegasus through Resurrection Ship 2. It happens
Yeah.
right in there.
yeah, but it's all the stuff that's happening on the Pegasus.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the Pegasus side of the story.
What's
Yeah.
the timeline? Is it during...
Starts at the destruction of Caprica and it goes all the way up through
the first
start
30 days
season
of
2.
Leodama's Pegasus command is
Yes.
when it
Yeah.
kind of takes place.
But I do recommend watching it.
Go back and watch it.
Yeah. And you can watch it now
Yeah.
Yeah.
because you've now seen the events occur from a different perspective.
Yeah.
But it's definitely well worth
It's
a watch.
and you get to know a lot more about Admiral Kane, and she definitely becomes more of a sympathetic character than she is without watching it.
Right,
You
because
get to
she's
see
kind of
some
coming in as an
good backstory
antagonist.
too on her.
I mean, I don't know if you would
she
call her
doesn't for me.
sympathetic,
Yeah,
but
she doesn't
you
for me.
you understand her motivations.
Maybe less
better.
two-dimensional, because
Yes.
from the moment she was introduced and as they start kind of painting this picture, and not just because she's critiquing everything they did, but there's a moment early on where I'm like, this bitch is gonna get it. I don't
she
know
has to,
from
yeah.
whom,
Yeah.
but someone
she
is
cannot
gonna.
exist in this universe.
No, like
Yeah.
they weren't subtle about that. Maybe they weren't intending to be. Subtle
I don't think
about
they
that.
were.
But it was one of those things where it's just like it's only a matter of time. What I do like about that is how it came full circle and it ended up being bespectacled Six, who
Yes.
ended up or eventually was
Yeah.
bespectacled Six.
Definitely watch Razor if you find that part interesting.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Yeah. Plus, her razor speech makes more sense.
We big themes, motherhood,
Oh
which sort of ties more into the Cylon greater motivations and whatnot. But both Cassie and I have previously expressed our dislike when they make women obsessed with having children. And this is a whole collection of beings that are obsessed with having children.
Right,
but-
and they're not all women, thankfully. All of the
That's true.
machines, the
Those are
machines. If we're not
machines,
going to
yeah.
attribute.
But when you think about it, like if we as a human race, like all of a sudden, let's watch Children of Men because I'm about to go
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
You know, if all of a sudden we just stopped reproducing, I think plenty of people would become obsessed with that. And we're talking about an entire race of people that can't reproduce in the way that they want to reproduce, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
So
I wish I could feel sorry for
I would rather have like a day glow back red light orgasm than reproduce if I had the choice.
I think that would
That's
be there.
terrifying. Where your spine is just lit up.
I want a glowy spine.
Well, but yeah.
Sexy.
Well, it's an interesting thing because Six, I mean,
This guy's Baltar. He believes anything that woman tells him.
He does. And he cries. He cries throughout especially the latter half of season 2.
Yes,
It's like,
he does.
you brought this on yourself.
I love
No
how-
tears.
I love when she's like, "I'm not an implant. I'm totally in your head," and he totally
Yes.
believes her. He just
And he
anything
goes and
she
gets
says.
the
I'm not crazy.
MRI, yeah, hysterical. Yeah, he's one of the things that makes it always a
Always
glorious
entertaining.
train wreck.
Yes, he
Yeah.
does.
Right, because he is such a glorious train wreck.
He is a brilliant,
character.
glorious trainer.
Yeah.
Beautiful train wreck.
Too brilliant for his own good.
And just acted so wonderfully.
So yeah, motherhood still kind of handled weirdly, but whatever.
Yeah, with family. I mean, these are all themes that the show continues on with.
Yeah,
I mean,
Quite nicely.
I like Rosalind as the
she's the mother,
mother
of us all.
and of us all, and Adama is the father. I mean, there's a, and I mean that's independent of their romance, right? I think that they hold those roles on their
Regardless.
own.
What do we think of Rosalind's affair with the president?
I thought that was silly.
Lame.
Yeah.
She didn't seem like the kind of person to behave that way.
Again, that's what I love about shows when they have people to make choices that you
I
wouldn't
know.
want them to.
Right, and thankfully it wasn't like something. It was more insight into her past than
Right.
something that was going to affect. The
Yeah, I think the
future.
more important thing there is that he sets her up.
Yeah,
And she's like, F you, I'm doing it anyway, and watch me
Yeah.
succeed. I'm going to succeed even though you've set me up to fail.
When they
And-
were
That's really- yeah.
when they were kissing in that scene, when he closes the door and he's like, I think we left things on an awkward note earlier, and then they kiss, I couldn't tell if it was that the actress, was awkward in the scene, or if Rosalind, the character, was awkward kissing the president. But it didn't feel right to me. It didn't I didn't buy it.
I didn't think they had very good chemistry. Maybe that was the whole thing for me.
So maybe the president was miscast.
Maybe.
Well, and that's my problem with Lee and Dee, is I just don't buy their
There's
whole
no
fucking
chemistry
relationship.
there.
There's no chemistry there. And I get that he is using her as a replacement, but still, it's just...
I don't
And
get
she's
her
hero
buy-in.
worship.
I don't
Yeah, I don't
understand
get-
what her damage is to allow that to happen.
I think she's hero worshipped him for all this time, and
But I would have expected more obvious build up to that. It's just suddenly like, oh, she's hot for Lee and they're going to end up together. And I was like, really? Where is this coming from?
I don't know. Maybe there's some tie-in with her relationship to his dad. I don't know. I do not want to be in a position where I'm justifying this situation, because you guys know how I feel about it. You know how I feel about it. And the fact that their names rhyme does not help.
For
like,
sure.
Lee and Dee, no.
So
Gross.
we sort of started to try and talk about the Bechdel test. Is there more than one woman on the show? Hands down, yes.
Well, yeah.
Do they talk to each other? Hands down, yes. And do they talk about things other than men?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. It
passes
can't be dependent
easily.
on authority, or
Yeah.
that's kind of an
so now
added
if you want to
bonus.
go into more the strongly written female characters.
I think I feel like the Cylon women have a lot to talk about with one another, especially because we've got whole episodes about Caprica 6 and Boomer. Mm-hmm. They have a lot to
Indiana.
work out. Indiana, yeah, that's true.
Well, and Scar. I mean, that's all Starbuck.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
Cat,
all Starbuck and
so
Cat. Good point.
I think there
Scar
are many.
is Scar a male though?
That's a good question. What are they called?
Oh, that's a question.
Do
that
they
I
have
had.
gender? The gliders? Do they have gender?
I don't
I just
know.
automatically
It's an
assume
interesting
male.
question. Right? And does that make them more of a machine than on the whole humanity issue? But so and their fear of dying once they can't be resurrected because they're too far from the thing. That's another.
Well, I
really
mean, it's
interesting
really
thing.
interesting because they want to have souls. So I just want to, like, part of me, as much as I don't like them, just like we all don't like certain humans, I believe the wishing for a soul, the desire for a soul, grants you a soul.
Interesting.
You know, so like
The
that's just-
whole notion of the act of having that
Right.
as a concept or a desire sort of by default is going to
Gives
give
you
you
one. Yeah.
Interesting. I like that.
I think we'll come back to that at the end of season 4. I have a statement, but I won't make it till then.
So my question was, there's this scene, and unfortunately I can't remember which episode it's in, but it's during Pegasus to Resurrection Ship 2, where they lose the ability, and it's a slaughter. It's a straight up slaughter, right? They can't be resurrected. And
brutal.
right? And right. So did you feel they have humanity? Did you feel as bad for those ships being slaughtered by the Viper pilots, or were you like all of them where it was like, woohoo, right? Like they don't want to rape Sharon and they don't want to treat this other female Cylon badly, but they're more than willing to like light it up and
Destroy
kill
all the bodies. The explosions with all the just like random bodies flying out. That did kind of hurt. It made me feel really bad, and it made me just like, why can't you guys just be nice to each other and
Be friendly.
we're all friendlies. And it did make me really happy when Caprica 6 and Boomer did come to the conclusion that what they had done as a species to the humans was a sin. And I was like, yeah, it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that juxtaposition because they do. It's right after those scenes of the very personal one-on-one violence with then, but we're down. We think that's bad. Oh, but we're all happy about this slaughter that's going on over here of the Cylons. That's
Yeah,
okay.
I wasn't cheering.
So that's the other. Oh my God! I just thought that totally reminded me. That's another awesome scene in this series when Adama asks Sharon that question, and she says, "Is humanity has to ask itself, does it deserve to be saved?"
Oh, you gave me
They
goosebumps.
don't.
Maybe they don't.
Yeah.
That's so well written.
And then when he comes back, and I don't remember who he was talking to, but he says we need to question this. When he talks to Starbuck and she's all like, I'm about to shoot the Admiral. I'm about to shoot the Admiral. She's like pooping her pants, and he's like, we need to be worthy.
Yeah.
And she's like, thank you for not making me do. Did anybody think that she was going to follow through on that?
If he had said it, she totally would have.
I think she
No,
would
but
have, but
yeah, I agree with that, but I don't think in the arc of the story that it would have ever happened.
really? I think it totally...
You were there.
I was like, it's gonna... so with the whole blowing up all the bodies, it was a necessary thing. I wasn't like, yes, but I was like, it has to happen. With that, it was kind of one of those things where I was like, it may need to happen based on her behavior. It's not something to cheer about. But I really liked that exchange because kudos to Michelle Forbes, whose
love
work I
her.
don't really know.
I love her
But
so
she
much.
conveyed so much...
Who played Commander Kane.
Yes, who
Michelle
played
Forbes.
Commander... kudos to her because she conveyed like an awareness. Like the character knew that had been a plan. That's how good she is at her job, how calculating she is. She knew that was an eventuality or a possibility.
Oh,
and
yeah.
was waiting on the,
Yes.
on the no.
Yeah.
To say no.
That whole chess game between the two of them that plays out in Pegasus to
was so
Resurrection Ship Shape.
dramatic.
It's
It
so
was very
dramatic
dramatic.
and so taut.
Yeah, it was.
My
I
favorite
was there.
scene in all of that was when Fisk and Starbuck passed each other in the hallway. Fisk was leading his contingent of Marines.
Yeah.
Starbuck was all by herself. Good hunting, you too.
That's
That-
one of my favorite
And that whole exchange,
things that they
though,
say.
because they both are...
Yeah.
there's a double meaning for each of them.
They're both
Yeah.
on their way to kill the other's leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So music. We talked a lot about it with season 1.
Being the big Bear McCreary nerd that I am, I have all of the soundtracks to all of the seasons of Battlestar, and season 2 is hands down my favorite because I feel like it's the season where Rosalind and Adama, that theme really starts to take off. It's so important. It's so key to the scenes when their romance starts blooming. It actually like brings tears to my eyes just listening to the piece. But Bear did some kind of experimental stuff in season 2. So my 2 favorite pieces on the whole soundtrack, you will not hear anything remotely like it on seasons 1, 3, and 4. And my 2 favorites are Pegasus, which is the music that's playing when Pegasus shows up. Both the ones I like, they're kind of synthesizer-y. I think they decided to get away from that. But I don't know, there's something about that piece when it's playing, when the Pegasus shows up, and it's just so hopeful and perfect, and it's short.
Really?
Yeah, I love that piece.
Just was like, oh, it's the end of an 80s movie.
Yeah, okay, so we are thinking about the same one.
yeah.
I
It's
was
real
seriously
synthesizer-y.
like, what the hell?
I love that about it. I'm sure that's what people hate about it. I do have a problem with like 80s synth pop, so I
By
love
problem, you mean a love.
it. Yes. I love that piece. And then my other favorite piece is called Something Dark is Coming, and it's actually quite long. And they play it over the opening.
It's Lay Down Your Burdens.
Yes, Lay Down Your Burdens. And actually, over the piece, part 1, over the piece, there's a part where Sharon and Hilo are walking down the hallway together, and she says the words, Something dark is coming, and I feel it. It's a really long piece, but it's really just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. And then there's the Going to War one with all the taiko drums.
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. Taiko drums. All right. Megan, would you stay?
I am not going down to Caprica, to New Caprica.
You're
I'm
staying
staying
on the ship.
the frack away from there.
Are you asking us all that question?
Yes. Sarah, ship, planet.
Ship, I would hold out for a better planet.
I would too.
You start looking like a major scrub, and you get a really bad weave when you go down to the planet. So no.
You're going to stay in the climate controlled comfort of Galactica.
Oh my goodness.
Where apparently you can cut your hair when you need to, and shave and shower.
Yeah.
Because apparently that doesn't happen on the planet.
Apparently
no,
not.
it doesn't. Well, it's a crappy planet.
Yeah, I mean, we have the burden
So we
of
have
knowing.
this burden of knowing.
Why can't you have that on the
that
ships?
kind of
They did
stuff.
it on the ships. You go down when you need some fresh air, you jog around the track to stay fit, whatever the hell you need to do, and then you hop your little ass back up that ship.
Yeah, well,
Or just go to
there's
Cloud
other-
9 if you want a vacation on a pretty
Exactly.
place.
Well, it got
Well,
blown
yeah,
up.
Oh, that's
but
well.
people die there, Sarah.
That's true. People do die on Cloud
People
9.
die on Cloud
I'm not
9.
going there.
All right, so then to finish things out, Cassie, given how the season ends, which is kind of, sorry, I'm going to break here, it's a big game changer, right? Because
Yeah.
they've been on the ships, going through space for 2 seasons now. Oh, now we're going to be like, it's going to be like a situation drama, and we're going to be stuck on the planet, not going anywhere. So are you looking forward to season 3, or are you sort of being like, oh my God, what are they going to do there?
I do want to know what the heck happens. I don't know about. I mean, obviously, when we do these our episodes, we binge watch to an insane degree. I'd probably stretch out season 3 a bit, but I am interested in seeing how that
Gets played out.
Yeah.
Are you gonna start on it in advance of our next episode about it, or are you gonna wait till we have to come back and educate you for an episode?
I'll probably, just for the sake of my sanity, need to start.
We'll schedule our Battlestar season 3 for like the second half of next year or something.
Yeah, no, I'm interested. I'm at least interested in how that arc concludes. So if nothing else, I'll probably watch the first few. And I know you guys are all like, how could you do that? How could you only watch the first few?
Well, yeah, because that you're gonna finish that arc, but in the middle of that, you're gonna start other arcs that overlap.
Well, I mean, you know,
Well, let's
you
get our
guys
drink
already-
on, ladies.
Yeah.
Drinking game rules.
Drinking game rules.
Now, obviously, many of the ones that we came up with for season 1 will, of course, continue to be valid.
I think almost all of them are still applicable.
So I tried to come up with ones that were particularly pertinent to this season, although they might also be back relative as well. I'm not sure. I think, obviously, you need to take a shot every time Lee is sleeping with someone. Or dating someone new, or pining after some other female.
That's one of mine, yeah.
I think just whenever he's being a friggin' brat,
Little
No, those
whiny
are
bitch,
separate.
as
little
you
whiny
say.
bitch.
That's a separate.
Yeah.
That's a separate.
That's a
shot.
separate rule. Okay.
All right, go, Cassie.
Whenever they attribute a non-gender pronoun to the Cylons drink, there's a lot of take that, take
Yeah.
it. And it was very vexing to me because I was like, that's a she, because she wants to be a she.
Yeah, Sarah, go.
Take a drink every time you see a touching moment between Adama and any of his crew. Because it wasn't just the relationship he had with Dee, where it was,
He has
was
moments
showing
with
to
many
be
of the crew.
all of them.
Yeah.
Starbuck, the president.
Well, when he comes back and he gives that whole speech to the bridge crew about, we don't say it often enough.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, that made me cry.
Sorry. The feels.
Yeah, he's such a loving character, and it kind of I still don't get the we keep talking about. I don't get the rift between him and Lee because he has built those connections very deeply with almost everybody else on his crew.
Yeah, but blood is blood,
Yeah.
whatever happened in their childhood. Go, Megan.
You should start drinking whenever Fisk and Ty are hanging out together. Swapping
join.
war
And
stories.
they're
You should
drinking.
join
And
in.
yes, anytime they're doing that, you should just be drinking along with the fellas.
And anytime Fisk says something happened, just
I know,
believe
like
it
anytime
happened.
Yes.
Fisk opened his mouth, I was like, God damn it, I need a drink. Like this shit's getting
Yeah,
serious.
seriously.
So take a shot every time a Pegasus captain dies.
A lot of drinks.
Right?
Take a shot whenever Rosalind suggests she's going to throw someone out of the airlock, but doesn't.
And then,
She does it like 3 times.
That's her favorite threat.
She
Favorite
doesn't
empty threat.
act on it.
She's real quick to make it, and I actually kind of admire her decisiveness for as kind of quiet and calm a leader as she is. She's really fucking
Spitfire.
decisive.
She gets riled up, man.
Take a drink every time Coddle is smoking in the sick bay.
Doc
Yeah,
Cottle.
he's
I just
cool.
love him so much.
so I was trying to think that something like you should take a shot when 2 of the same model of Cylon are in the same room together, and then maybe take another shot if they speak to each other. But I can't. It starts to happen, but I
It
can't.
happens
it doesn't
more
happen that
in the
much.
later 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So
So
that
this
might
is just
be-
the beginning.
Are you
of
saying
it.
2 versions of the same model?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like Sharon and Sharon, or a 6 and a 6, or a Cavell and Cavell, or a sort of a thing. Because it does start to
It
happen
starts to
more and
happen.
more
Yeah.
as time goes on. Because you start to get into the Cylon culture a little bit more.
I'm looking forward to
So
that.
screen.
that's good for a couple shots here and there, I think.
Take a drink every time the president makes her scrunched up face where you can't tell if she's grimacing or smiling or what the fuck her face means. That expression is just inscrutable to me. I don't know what the fuck she's trying to convey.
And I think you should take a sip every time Adama glowers at someone. Because
Yes.
he does that an awful lot.
And that would be
Yes.
so terrifying to be on the opposite end of that. Whenever a version of 6, whichever version of 6 it may be, manipulates Gaius, take a drink.
Okay.
Anytime Hilo is standing up for Sharon, take a drink.
Drink some pink champagne for
Pink
that.
champagne. How romantic.
The Cylon Resurrections. You start to see more of those.
yeah.
So that's another one that.
Take a shot every
Yeah.
time that happens. I
Every
think
time
that should
that
be a
happens.
shot.
Take a drink every time Kat has issues in her raptor or in her viper.
In her viper.
That's a great one.
That's a really
I
good
thought you were
one.
just gonna leave it at every time Kat has issues.
that would also be a good one.
Whenever a couple is confirmed or is caught canoodling or anything like that, take a shot.
Take a drink. Oh crap. Oh, take a drink anytime someone talks about hot dog. Just because I love it when they call him hot dog.
Every time you hear the word hot dog.
Is he just talked about like he's the character they talk about when he's really off screen?
He's off screen a lot. Yeah.
Oh my. The other scene that always makes me cry is when, and I'm pretty sure it's Scar, at the end of Scar, when Starbuck
Names everyone.
names everyone.
Oh,
or
that is
attempts
so
to name her.
sad.
I totally cry.
That's a good
Totally
scene.
cry.
That is so sad.
So
That's a good Starbuck moment.
anyone got any more? Well, thank you for joining us today. This has been,
Cassie.
Sarah.
Megan.
and I'm Alice. We're Educating Geeks. You can find us at educatinggeeks.com. Hopefully you found us there already and are joining us multiple times to hear the podcast. Please interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and Tumblr even. We'd love to hear from you. What did you think of Season 2? Who are your favorite characters? Let us know. Check back next week when we'll have the drinking rules posted.
Yep. Thanks
Peace
for
out.